Hey friends, so I finished reading 12 books this month. I did DNF 2 other books, but we do have a grand total of 2,643 pages read with my eyes and then 47 hours with my ears. So as always, let's get started with those least favorites and then end with my most favorites. Let's get to it. So the first book I DNF'd this month. This is a widely popular book. It has been popular for years, it's always recommended, but that is Shatter Me. I don't know what it is about this book. Like maybe it's that I had to have read it in 2011 to understand all the hype around it, but it was just not for me. Look, did I give it like a full-on effort? Probably not, because I don't even think I made it 20% of the way through. But like, I don't know, no part of this had me like wanting to continue on, and I felt like I was just reading it because like others have said it was good, and for me that just was not enough. It was not enough to be like, oh well, they say it gets better, and the beginning just did not have me. I did not care. To me, this book felt like something that if I had picked it up 10 years ago, I totally would have been into it, but right now this was just like not it. So I don't think I'm the audience for this one. At least right now in life, it's just not for me. It's a miss. That's okay. My second DNF of the month was Not the Witch You Wed. I made it to about, I think 60% of the way through this book, but I just could not finish it. It read like a Wattpad fan fiction, and I was just not into it. I was so like just cringing the whole time, and I just kept thinking about, I was like, I have so many other books I could be reading right now. This is not something I want to be wasting my time with. Oh my goodness. I didn't care for anybody in the book. Like I picked up this book because it said it was a witch and a werewolf, and I was like into it, totally there, let's go. And the characters, like the main character, she was just like, she was quirky, but too much. Like it went too far for me. I was like, please stop. Oh my goodness. And then the guy, the werewolf guy, I don't remember any of their names, which is already a bad sign. He was just an asshole. That was it. That was his whole thing. And there was no part of the book where I was like, aw, but he loves her. No, I was just shipping her with her nice best friend instead. I was like, girl, you do not need him. You have a nice little golden retriever type best friend right there. Go to him. And I just gave up. I was just so tired. I was so done with it. The writing was not it. The characters were not it. This book was just not it. I think if I had finished it, this would have been a 1-star, and I would have never talked about it again. But we're getting better at DNFing books when we are just not vibing with them. So switching gears into the books I did finish. Now this is my least favorite of the month, and that is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This book was incredibly boring. It did not feel like this book was plotted out like at all. The main character in this book, Hallie, she did not feel like she had any thought process put into her besides like, these are the standard things that a main character has to have. And that was it. That was like the end of the thought. But Julian, the love interest for this book, someone get him a back brace because he freaking carried this book, and he's the only reason this book is getting 2 stars. He had the character development, he had actual thoughts, he had a personality. He was amazing. Hallie, no clue what the intent was for her. The book just had such lazy writing, and it was so disappointing to read this month after last month's of loving hook, line, sinker, and It Happened One Summer. I don't know what happened this summer, but like, it just felt like it got worse, and now I'm putting like Tessa Bailey on my, I think we have to go to the library before we automatically buy books. So that was the only 2-star read of the month. We're moving right into 3 stars. And our first book there is going to be Dial A for Aunties. This book, I was looking for like a murder mystery type book. That was the vibe I was in, and this is the book that got recommended to me. This book had the murder, but there wasn't really any mystery to it, and it was a very like unserious type of murdery book. And so because that wasn't what I was wanting, this book was just another one of those, this isn't really for me, this is for someone else. And so I'm trying to like be cautious of that when like rating this book, because the writing was good, the characters were funny, the plot of the book was funny, but everything was just so unserious that I was just like, no, not into it. It kind of reminded me of that show Psych and how unserious the characters are at times, but it's like that, but it's the whole entire book. And so for me, I was not vibing with that. If that sounds great to you, then you might enjoy this book a lot more than I did. There really was no mystery to this book. The mystery of the book is how are they going to cover up this dead body. And that's not a spoiler, that's like in the very beginning of the book and in the back of the book, I think. Keeping it at 3 stars. I didn't hate it, I just wasn't into it. That was it. So moving into some 4-star reads, the first one we have is The Switch. This was such a warm, cuddly, feel-good book. I loved reading this so much. In this book, you are following Lena and her grandmother Eileen. They're both like not happy with where they are right now, and so they end up switching places. Eileen goes to London and tries online dating, and Lena comes to their small little like village and just to slow down. I absolutely loved reading about Eileen doing online dating and all of her websites. She was rocking it for being, I think, 79 years old. Although there's like a lot of predictability with this book, it still handled the topic of grief very well and shows you how like 2 different people can be in 2 different places with their grief. This was a great audiobook. It had 2 different narrators. I loved them both. I think they did the characters justice. It was just a good feel-good book. This was exactly what I wanted to read. It was the right time. Felt like a hug, a nice like slice of life, character-driven book. It was very fun. Such a nice, cozy, like 4 stars. Like this is exactly what I think when I'm thinking like I want a feel-good book. This is now the book. This is the book I will be recommending. Next, I have another fun, cute read, and that is The Wedding Ringer. This book was so stinking adorable. It was very unexpected. I went into it thinking that it was just going to be like another simple, cheesy romance, like in that 3-star area, but I was really surprised. I had so many tears, happy and sad tears while reading this book. It really just hit everything for me. We have our main character, Willa, who has just broken up with her fiance because he was in bed with her best friend, and turned out they've been dating for quite a while. And now she just really wants a fresh start, and she's just trying to save up money and working at children's birthday parties. Q Maisie, who is about to be married, but she needs another bridesmaid, so she hires Willa to be in that role, and it's gonna give Willa enough money that she can leave this town and leave her best friend and ex-fiance behind and never have to think about it again. But then she meets Liam, who is in this bridal party as the best man, and they develop such a cute friendship and little romance there. This book was very cute. I found that like the romance to me felt like it was kind of a back burner a little bit, and so that's why I'm giving this 4 stars. But honestly, the friendship developed in this book was just so heartwarming and so cute. It was such a sweet read. There were a lot of tears, both sad and happy. This is another one of those like feel-good books, and I'll be recommending it for quite a while. And then next we have The Kiss Curse. This book is perfect if you are wanting like a spooky Gilmore Girls type read. That's exactly what I was wanting. This is exactly what it did. In this book, Gwen and Wells, they both have two different shops in a small town, and they are competing against each other. Something happens to Gwen where she loses her magic, and so she has to team up with Wells to try to figure out how to get it back, what's happened. And their cute rival to lovers, their banter in this book, it was just, it was so adorable. This was such a good book to get you into spooky season and to get excited for fall coming up. Gwen is such like a badass, and Wells is so soft hero type, and he is just infatuated with her. I'm taking off a star because like the conflict in the book at the ending, it just went so fast, and we had no epilogue, and kind of felt cheated by that. Otherwise I think I would have given this a full 5 stars. But this is a great read if you are, again, if you're wanting a spooky Gilmore Girls. Pick up this book right now. I felt that this book was a bit better than the X-Hex. The romance was a bit better. The banter between characters was, it was so good. Highly recommend. Another great romance book. Now I'm going to be bringing up a duology that I read this month, and that is The Secret Shanghai Universe with These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends. Both of these books I gave 4 stars. I felt that the author did a really good job of connecting the story to the time period, which was 1920s. And it felt like she did a lot of research into it, and I kind of enjoyed that. Especially with this being my first fantasy historical fiction book, like she has set the bar so high right now. So in this book you have Juliet and Roma. They are in rival gangs. They are both like the heirs to their gangs, and they're just like trying to like prove themselves that they are, so that they deserve to be the next leader of their gang. And this takes place in like 1920s Shanghai. There is a monster that like releases these insects that just like makes people like tear each other's like skins apart, and so these gangs like kind of have to like work together because they both have like different pieces of information. Roma and Juliet are secretly working together, and then not so secretly working together because it was both of their dad's ideas. There was a lot within these 2 books, and I don't want to like spoil things, so that is the main gist. I thought that the author did a beautiful job with the historical accuracy. She set up the world very beautifully. It truly just like felt like you were just transported right there into 1920 Shanghai. But for me with these books, some of it just felt very slow, and you didn't get a lot of information. And with that, to me, the side characters of the book felt very well developed, and you learned a lot more about them before you really got to know more of Roma and Juliet. It was fun to be reading this book and falling in love with the side characters, but I did feel like I enjoyed them a bit more than I did Roma and Juliet. And so that's kind of why that this is going down to like 4 stars. Because of how much everything else is described in this book, it felt like this book was trying to be more of a historical fiction book than it was a fantasy, and that the monster was kind of just thrown there to give like that magical realism to it. I think it could have been done a bit better, because while reading this book there was like a point in time where I was like, when are we getting to like the fantasy aspect? I'm confused. So this like sits at like that 3.5, 4 star range for me. The endings of both of the books were, I think, done very beautifully, and so that's kind of what has me going more toward a 4 star rating than a 3.5. And I enjoyed how the author like took your traditional Romeo and Juliet story and switched things up, made it her own while still keeping some of those themes there. Highly recommend if you are looking for historical fiction. The world building was just done so beautifully, and I really love the author's writing, and I'm very excited to read more books by her, because I feel like it's one of those authors that like she's going to learn from these books and is going to just grow and get better in her storytellings. And I'm very excited to see how that plays into more of her character development, because I did feel like that was lacking just a little bit in this one. Alright, now switching gears into our 5 star reads, because there is a lot of them this month. First, we have Spy X Family Volume 3. I don't have a lot to say about this book because it's just, again, it's just like the continuation of my last review of the first two. It is just a good, cozy read. If you're just wanting like a good, lighthearted manga to read, this is it. This is the one to do. Another excellent 5-star volume. Right now I'm taking a break from reading them. I've just been wanting to get more of my physical TBR finished, or at least make some space for the books I know I'll be buying later this year, so gotta make some space on the bookshelf. So then moving on to my next one, that is Famous for a Living. This book, again, is another like lighthearted read. You have our main character, Kat, who is a social media influencer, big on Instagram, has just had this big scandal with one of her business partners, and so she just needs to escape, lay low for a while. And so she's gonna go to her uncle who lives in Montana and works at one of the national parks there, and is a total 180 of her normal lifestyle. There she runs into Zaya, who is the handsome park ranger, the love interest of our book, exact opposite of her. This was opposites attract book. Enemies to lovers, I don't think enemies is the right word, but rivals isn't either. It was more on the opposites attract, really, of like, you stand for everything I hate in like Zaya's world, and hers being that like, I do not like anything that you do, I'm not comfortable with it. The character development in this book I thought was just chef's kiss. It was so good. The characters in this book had much more of like a respect for each other's like way of living, and both also like adapting like each other's like positive traits. Their relationship, like, it felt like they just like both became better people being together, and that was kind of beautiful. The book was very fast paced. I flew through it. And another feel-good book. Absolutely loved it. And now for my final two reads. Both of these books were very, very good for very different reasons, but coming in second place is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I can't believe I have waited this long to read this book. I actually picked this book up a few months ago and got to like, I don't know, halfway through it and then just set it down. I have no idea why. I just was like, oh, I'm gonna set it here and forget about it for the next 2 months. Can't believe I did that, because I picked it up again this month and finished it in one night, sobbing my eyes out, mind you. Holy, like, did not believe anyone when they said that, like, if you are an older sibling, you're gonna cry. That is completely true. So in this book, you have Nora, who is a publishing agent. She is as type A gets, I feel. And her sister is like, we need to go on a sister's vacation to this small town. It's gonna be fun, let's just do it. You need to relax a little. And so they go to this small town, and then there's Charlie. Charlie is a book editor. They have had plenty of meet moments that were not so cute. So they are gonna be working together on one of her author's books, getting it edited and ready for publishing. And we all know how close proximity tropes work. I loved how Charlie and Nora's relationship, neither of them were like trying to just change the other. Like, they both understood where they came from. Charlie could just read Nora like a book. It was so cute. This was a man that has fallen and fallen hard. The emotion in this book was so unbelievably deep. I love the sisteriness of it, with big sister, little sister, toxic parent situation growing up, and how that like affected their relationship as sisters. And then honestly, for them to like kind of just like come back to communicating with each other in like what they need as siblings, kind of with like the younger sister being like, you don't have to be mom, I need you to be my sister. This book just had me sobbing so much. This book hit a little too hard. It was a little too real for me. Have a tissue box if you're gonna read this one, especially if you're older sibling role. Like, this hits hard. Between this book and Happy Place, I don't know which one is my favorite Emily Henry read. They're both like that right level of cuteness and emotional that just has my heart like torn apart and somehow put back together in the end. Emily Henry truly just does it again. I can't believe that I've waited this long to like read her books. Like, this is insane. It's just an automatic buy author for me. Like, I know I'm gonna be crying my eyes out, but also loving every second of it. So now my most favorite read of the month, that is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I cannot get this book out of my head. I'm obsessed with it. I do not care if it is still same shit, different font as all of her other STEMinist books. I eat it right up every single time. We are not shocked at this point. Only Ali Hazelwood could make me fall in love with a blonde man named Jack. Like, what? Did not have that on my bingo card this year. I know I said same shit, different font, but I felt like there was still like the same level of focus on the romantic plot, but there was also more on like real world academia in this book. Like, everything is not picture perfect. Academia sucks. It especially sucks if you're a woman in academia, and I felt like Ali Hazelwood was truly like driving that point in this book. I just have so many quotes highlighted in this book that I was just like, yes, 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 relatable. I've had this exact situation happen. Like, oh my gosh, this is it. She gets it. She understands. Elsie and Jack's relationship, the development is so cute. Jack is like that definition of falls first and harder. He has been in love with her from like the very first sighting. Jack is who every girl should dream of having in their life. The romance in this book, the friendship in the book, the spice in the book, it all just hit. It all just hit so hard. I am obsessed with this book right now. I think this is definitely my most favorite of the 3 that she has released. I need like at least 10 more epilogues of Jack and Elsie. Like, this is not enough. I need more. Also, the Adam and Olive cameo. Did not know I needed that. That was amazing. This was just a good, fun, amazing read. I will be obsessing over it for probably the rest of the year and next year and forever. So overall, I think my average star rating of the month was 4 stars. Another good reading month with such amazing characters. So many fun new book boyfriends met this month. I don't know how September is going to top any of this. Like, it's just been good book after good book. I want like this vibe to just keep continuing because we love reading good books. This month I also hit my reading challenge mark. My goal was 350 books this year. I'm currently at 60 books read. So stay tuned for a reading wrap-up star review of all the 60 books. There might be more. If there's a book you think I should check out, let me know below. Otherwise, I will see you in the September reading wrap-up next month. Bye!